Is coaching almost too nice nowadays?
From the comments that I receive, I would say yes. It's not about being nice. I just think that they don't understand enough about the context and the deeper levels of how a kid's mind works.
Coaching children is one of the most talked about topics in football and across social media. It's one of the hardest things to get right. There's such a thin line between being too firm and too soft. Today, I invited on the show my former Spurs and Liverpool teammate, Kevin Stewart, to discuss how he best prepares his children for the football world and beyond. Kev, let's get straight into it. I want to take a look at one of your viral videos on Instagram where you took your children for a training session.
What are you crying for? Because you've got to pick cones up. Did I ask you if you want to pick them up? Or did I just say, just pick them up? You lost. You lost. You're going to pick them up. I don't care if you want to. Quicker. Speed. Go. 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 Carry on. You stopped. You stopped. Why? Why did you stop? You're trying to be perfect again. Just fix it. If Zach scores this, it's over. Zachy, you've got to stay in the game. Oh, he's coming. That was nice. Oh, Zach, that was nice. All right, Zachy, pick the cones up. What? What did you say? Come and sit here now, because I said so. Do your 10 press-ups. Can you not count to 10? Because they're your press-ups. Do not ever use the words fair. It's not fair. I don't ever want to hear you using that word again. Do you understand? Who taught you that everything's fair? Everything's supposed to be fair. Did I teach you that? Well, I'm going to tell you now, from this point moving forward, do not ever say to me when we're training, when we're at home, that something's not fair. Do you understand? I don't know why you expect things to be fair. Nothing is fair. You're going to deal with it either way. Do you understand? Instead of saying it's not fair, what do you think you should say instead? What can you ask instead? If you're playing against someone bigger, or you're playing a game and the rules are hard, instead of complaining about the rules, what do you think you could ask instead to make sure that you can do the right thing and win? How? He's bigger. How can I beat someone who's bigger? He's faster. How can I beat someone who's faster? Ask how. Don't let me hear you say it's not fair again. Every time you say that, you're going to do press-ups until your arms fall off. You're going to like this. Pass! Pass! Pass!
How old are your children?
Just turned 6 and 7.
Okay, so one of the comments underneath the video, one of many comments, was right message, wrong age.
And I heard another coach kind of talking about this as well, talking about 6-year-olds in particular. But I don't necessarily believe in age in terms of putting someone in a box of what they're capable of handling just by the number. If you look at life, there's adults that can't handle what I said to them. Despite age, it's about what they can handle. And I know my kids the best. I know what they can handle. So I would only go a certain distance. I know that they can handle it. And each kid is different. You know, I coached my 2 different. There's some things that I'll say to one that I wouldn't say to the other based on my understanding of what they're capable of. If you go and look at my 6-year-old play, for example, and his emotional stability on a football pitch, my kid's very stoic. He enjoys football. He doesn't cry when he loses. He's hungry to win. And this is just because I've prepared him like this, despite his age. So a kid is going to be ready for whatever you've prepared him for. Now, of course, there's going to be certain limits that a 6-year-old kid just probably wouldn't be able to, but I think they would surprise you if you would just give them a bit more respect. My kids surprise me every day. I take them to a certain point and they surpass it. So I think a lot of the reason why kids a lot of them that I see in the world today are very, very weak, very emotional, very incapable is because that's the limits that you've set on them. How many things as a child would you had wished you had overcome or someone made you overcome that affected you later in life? Like if you nipped it in the bud as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, it would have made your adult life a lot better and a lot smoother. That's for sure for me, bro. I wish. Look, my dad done amazing, bro. I had an amazing dad. He done the best he could for me. Was there a lot of things that I wish I could have been taught to get over a lot earlier? 100%.
It's a really good question that you asked there because watching it, I'll be honest with you, I felt uncomfortable. I felt uncomfortable. I'm a father myself. I'm an uncle myself. I wanted to just, I pictured it as my son, my nieces, and I just want to hug them, I want to hug them. But the question you've just put to me is interesting because I've suffered a lot of anxiety, especially in my career, you know, and in the outside world, of course. But like the anxiety of like never feeling good enough. I basically never learned how to deal with it until I was 27, really, 100%. To be honest with you. And like, I guess, you know, my dad did a fantastic job too, as did my mum. But I guess looking at that, maybe it could have helped me younger, or maybe it could have crushed me. I don't know, and I guess that's why it's such an interesting talking point, right? Because from your perspective, this is what's going to help them. From my perspective, when I first watched it, was like, oof.
This is the thing. A lot of people are watching a minute clip, a very purposeful clip that I chose and selectively clipped out. And it's also a 2-hour session from our everyday life. So they're only seeing a small part, and it's purposeful. I want arguments. I want to split it down the fence. But I also want to give what I feel the world needs more. If you go into my videos, you'll see how I meditate with my kids, and you'll see the parts where I show love, small amounts, because I don't do it as much, because I think the world needs less of that and more of what I'm putting out more of. They see it as I'm putting pressure on, which is they're completely missing the point. Everything that I do with my kids is removing pressure, is adding pressure, teaching them how to remove it. Adding pressure, teaching them how to remove it. How else are they going to learn how to remove pressure until they actually get to it and they're like, fuck, I don't have the tools. Just like us. With 24, 25, all this pressure. Who told us, Steve, how to remove pressure in front of 50,000 people that are going to be on Twitter later fucking ripping us? No one taught us that, bro. Not one person taught us that before it happened. It always happened after. So I make these sessions and I make them compete, and I put things on the line. I bring a trophy. I'll say everyone's watching. I'll say the videos are going to go viral and they're going to see who won and lost purposefully, so they can increase pressure, so they can get anxious, so they can get nervous, so they can get angry, and then I'm right there to teach them how to remove it. This is what people miss. They just see it, me shouting, and oh, that's too much pressure. I want them to be. I don't give a shit if they're a footballer, bro. I literally do not care. I'm just using football as a vehicle to teach them how to survive in life.
Do you feel this message is for all parents out there with 6-7-year-olds who, you know, are growing up in this world, like you said, whether they want to be a footballer or not? Or do you feel that, you know, this is specific for your kids, specific depending on, you know, the type of child that you have? You know, some kids are sensitive. I was a sensitive child, for example. Some kids are angry, you know, some kids are, you know, already confident.
The core mechanism of the teaching, which is mental performance, every kid should learn 100%. In the way you do it is going to be different. So the way I teach my two, it's very similar. You'll see in the videos, very similar, but in the background, it's a little bit different. My older one's more sensitive. My younger ones just don't care, give a shit about nothing, right? Like he's too relaxed sometimes. So the way I train him is I'll make things more important for him. That needs to be more important because I need to draw things out of him. And you know this being in the change rooms, bro. You know people have different ways of doing things, different motivations. There's one guy who just is in the gym all the time because he just wants to be ready. He's very anxious. He just wants to improve. He wants to learn. And there's other guys that are just like, they fucking hardly care. And sometimes they do well on different days. So that's what my two are like. So the one with my eldest is more removing pressure a lot and just helping them understand like this isn't important. Whenever you leave a match or leave a competition, was you proud of the way you behaved? Were you a coward? Did you get scared of other players? Like that's all we care about. Nothing else is important. The score, whether you won, not important. Where the other one is more relaxed, because in life, if you're so relaxed and you need to get shit done, then that could be a problem for you. So I need to teach him how to add pressure, how to make things more important, how to get things done. So they're both mental performance led, but in different ways. So it's, you know, depending on which kind of kids you're dealing with and what their main kind of struggle is. We all have one, bro. I was more of the anxious one too. Like, I really want to do well. I wasn't a relaxed one. So I needed to learn relaxation. So when you watch my other content on YouTube, you'll see me with my older one, teaching him relaxation, teaching him how to meditate, teaching him how to remove like limiting beliefs and remove pressure. And then with the other one, it's more just like, it looks like I'm always like battering him. I'm always on him because that's what he needs. That makes sense?
Who taught you? I'm curious. You mentioned earlier that your dad did a great job, but didn't teach you those specific things. So who taught you, and at what point did you learn all these things? Because I played with you, and I don't remember this version of you. I remember a really nice, kind, sweet version of you. Not that you're any different now, but I don't remember this version of like, right, this is it. This is how it's going to be. Very firm in your beliefs. So what happened? When did it happen? And who did you learn it from?
But I've heard that a few times. One of my coaches who I met up in Dubai said the same thing as well. In terms of speaking it outwardly, yes, but this is probably how I've always lived in my head, but I've always kept it to myself because I never needed to share it. But in terms of mental performance, bro, it was from a very young age, bro, from the age of like 11, 12. I can always remember me trying to go on a journey of like removing fear. Like I always knew that held me back. All the time. So like even up to 24, 25, 26, the only thing that ever really held me back was like my own mind. And I was very aware of it. I was always trying to seek out the best mentors, the best coaches. I never really found the answer why I was playing specifically. I never really came across any psychologist that really unlocked it for me. It was always a battle. So like all things I achieved, playing for Liverpool in the Prem, it was all done with a very heavy head. It was always like, I had a parachute on my back of like self-doubt and worry and am I doing enough? I'm not where I want to be. Like I was playing on the pitch with Lionel Messi at one point, bro. I still didn't feel like I was where I was supposed to be. I was like, but this was just a friendly though. I need to do it in the actual league. Like, so this is what it always was. And it really only started piecing together for me with a few mentors that I had outside of football, like completely separate to football, that really pieced it together for me. And then from there, you start piecing it together for yourself. But it's all I ever focus on, bro. Books, mentors. I've invested, tens of thousands into myself. So it's just a continuous journey, man.
Is coaching almost too nice nowadays?
Since I've retired, bro, I've not been in the game at all. Like I don't watch football. I don't follow it. I would say from the comments that I receive, I would say yes. Because I get coaches as well talking shit in my comments. That I like that. But I think it's because it's not about being nice. I just think that they don't understand enough about the context and the deeper levels of how a kid's mind works or how just anyone's mind works. But then there's another half that are very agreeable with it. They really like it. And they're like, this is, coaching has gone soft. And I get a lot of parents saying, can you train my kids? Because my coaches are too soft. But I think even the coaches that believe in being harsh, I think that they've been almost guilt tripped out of being harsh.
I think there's a really, really like fine line of coaching. And I'm a big believer in the old school way, which is like firm but fair.
We've been in a changing room with John McDermott, who's like very, very harsh. And some other kids at 13, 14, they couldn't hack it. Some kids could. So like, what age is it okay? Or is it just the capability of each kid?
Do you have any like regrets looking back on your career? Is there any part of you that looks back and go, I wish I did this differently? Or do you believe it all shaped you into who you are today? If
I'm thinking solely football, I'll never say regrets because I always did what I thought I needed to do. Always. Like there was never a time where I'm like, Kev, you shouldn't be doing this, but you've done it. You're taking football for granted. You shouldn't be doing that. I never did that. Every day I did what I was capable of doing. Always. But there were just answers that I just didn't get. I just couldn't find them. I mean, in hindsight, knowing what I know now, I would have just understood like you care too much. There's too much. It's too attached to your identity, how well you do, and I think that's the same with fucking 99% of players. So I'd say regrets, no, but now looking back, just very, very, very naive, man, in my way of thinking at times.
I can definitely relate, Kev, to caring too much. And people often thought, especially with me, I had the issues with the alcohol, I had the issues with the gambling. These were all just my form of medicine, because I cared too much.
From pressure.
From the pressure. Right, that's what I did. I used to self-medicate. So I would go and drink, I would go and gamble as an escape, right? To not feel the pressure, to not feel so deeply. I'm sensitive, I'm sensitive and everything I feel is deep. And that's why, as I said, when I was watching your video, it caught my eye. I said, well, hold on. Yes, I believe in the message, but I also, as a being a sensitive guy myself, I just want to give them a hug. And it's interesting to hear from you that, there are both sides of that. I love that. Look, I brought you on the show because I wanted to ask you the most important question, which is, what advice would you give to parents out there with kids wanting to make it pro? But before I ask that, I just want to say to anyone out here listening in the audience, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and help us to continue to grow, to bring you content and real life insight like we're doing today. So, Kev, in your opinion, right, what advice would you give to parents out there with kids wanting to make it pro?
You need to lead with mindset. 100%. I think every footballer, successful footballer, is going to tell you that it's 90% mindset. Whether that's being harsh or whether that's being rough on them. And I know you said, you're looking at thinking like you want to give them a hug. Bro, it's hard for me too. As parents, as dads, it's hard for me to deliver that message. I sometimes, feel sorry for them while I'm doing it. But I have to override my own comfort because I know it's best for them. But that's what parents are for. Parents are there to know what's best and push through the hard times just so they can, in end, get what they need. So I think you need to challenge your kid as much as you possibly can on a mental level. You need to expose them to as much pressure as you can with the ability to remove it. Because if you're expecting your kids to do things that's outside of their capability, then that's unfair. So a lot of parents are like very performance-based, very win or lose, very how did you play, rather than just teach them how to be strong, teach them how to deal with pressure, teach them how to remove the limiting beliefs that they have that rob them of the love of the game and of their performance, and just teach them how to have mental and emotional control. That's it. The football's easy from that point.
But how do you teach them? You're talking there about teaching them how to remove the pressure, teaching them how to become emotionally stable. Like, how specifically do you teach them?
Yeah, well, this is hard. This is harder, and this is why I always take what people say in the comments with a pinch of salt, because most people don't know how to do this because they've never done it themselves. If you haven't learned how to master your own emotions and your own belief systems, then you're going to find it very hard to master your kids. Pressure comes from belief systems. Comes from beliefs, what you believe. You believe you're not good enough, then you're going to have the pressure of, the fear of failure. For example, one of my eldest kids is going through something recently where I could see, and you could see it, Steve, so easily in players for sure, is when they're like nervous, when the ball comes and they're like a bit shaky, or the ball comes and they rush a pass or something like that. I'm not thinking about performance, I'm thinking he's being overcome in that moment by pressure. And if this was in life, this wouldn't be good. So I use football as like a way to measure how he's doing mentally. If he's flying, I know he's good. I know he's in a good state. If he's really like struggling, he's not being himself, then I know that he's struggling with a limiting belief mentally. But we end up figuring out that what was making him stress is that because he's so good at football and everyone that sees him says, "Oh, Zai, you're amazing at football. Today you was the best." He started developing a belief that if you're the best, that you can never lose. So every match that he goes to, he's got to show everybody that he's the best and he always has to win. And if he doesn't win, it's a threat to his identity. So I had to now give him a new belief. A belief that even when you are the best, that's not determined on whether you win or lose all the time. Because is Messi the best? He's like, yeah. Does he win all the time? He's like, no, he misses penalties all the time. I've seen him miss penalties. I've seen him lose the World Cup. So his belief system starts shaping. So then in his mind, it's like, all right, so what makes the best? And I'm saying what makes you the best is how resilient you are. And why other kids look up to you is because of the fact that even when you lose, you come back again and you fight. Now he's given himself permission to fail and to make mistakes because his new belief is the best is basically just being strong mentally. And then if he believes that, then he will be the best because he's skilled enough.
I still see exactly what you're talking about in players I work with today. Grown men who are 29, 30, still living with the same thing as I was. To be honest with you, I was living with the same thing. As I said, until 27, I lived with that same fear and pressure that I always had to be the best. And as a footballer, let's be honest, you're judged really up until you retire. And now with social media, even when you retire, you're still, were you really one of the greats? Were you really? It's a different era, So you're still judged and questioned, right? Are you ever too old to learn this stuff? Or do you feel this is something that everyone at every age can take from?
Yeah, every age, bro. But of course, as you get older, it gets harder. Between 0 and 7, that's where kids are, the most susceptible to belief systems and to character traits. And again, that's another reason that you talk about, 6 is too young, but it's not too young because this is their most important years. This is when their belief systems around competition are going to be shaped. So now is actually the best time if you can do it in a certain way. So it's something that everybody has to learn, and I'm teaching, business owners that are 40, 50, they are harder. To convince them and to help them get out of those beliefs are very hard. It takes time. As opposed to if I'm working with a 23-year-old, they get results, a lot faster and they feel better a lot faster.
Kev, thank you so much for joining us and sharing such an incredible insight. I wish you all the best.
Appreciate you having me, bro. All good.